The disposal of garbage is a major problem in urban societies all over the world. Millions of dollars are being spent in research on more efficient and less costly ways of disposing of household wastes. In the Sydney suburb of Bondi Junction, David Lambert has been taking a personal but low-key look at the problem and believes he has the answer: worms. In boxes in the backyard of his house, David Lambert has more than 1 million worms chomping away on garbage. They're such prodigious consumers that he has to make a weekly trip to the city markets for vegetable wastes to feed them. The refuse from his home is totally inadequate. Protected from heat and light by wet sacks and old underfelt, the worms lead an ideal life by worm standards, an endless supply of first-class food, a varied diet, and no predators. And while they're eating garbage, they're at the same time producing an equal amount of high-grade garden compost. It's a recycling process that David Lambert believes can be harnessed on a large scale. Everyone, he says, house and unit dweller alike, should have a colony of worms. Packaging material accounts for an extraordinary amount of waste these days, but not at David Lambert's. His worms eat all cardboard, and even the glues used to make the boxes. However, they prefer cardboard that's soaked for a few days before being put on the menu. There are more than 2,000 species of worms in the world, and they are members of food chains in virtually all ecosystems. They range in length from 1 millimetre to more than 30 metres, about 100 feet. But for garbage disposal, David Lambert favours only 2 kinds of worms: red wrigglers and tiger worms. Both find old telephone books most nourishing. With a handful of worms, anyone can start a worm garbage disposal system in the backyard, high-rise building basement, or on a unit balcony. Worms reproduce by laying eggs. Although the eggs are quite small, each one contains about 10 baby worms. And that's one of the fascinating features of the worm garbage disposal system. The worms multiply with enthusiasm and go on multiplying so long as they have space and food. When they run out of space, they stop breeding.
David, how many worms would I have here?
Possibly 1,000.
And if I look after them, how many will I have in a few months' time?
Well, say 3 months, you'd probably have about 4,000, and then if you continue to look after them and give them plenty of food, you could have 12 to 15 even thousand in, say, 6 months.
What is the advantage of using worms as a garbage disposal system?
Well, several advantages. One, the garbage doesn't have to be transported, and we don't use essential petrol energies. The end product, when we're finished with the worms, is a saleable object or can be used in the garden and encourage people to grow food at home, which also is an energy saving.
Can they be used in the home unit, for example?
Yes, we have them in a garbage bin with holes drilled in the bottom, and in a medium there that they live in, and you just put your garbage in on top and they'll eat it. A pound of worms will eat a pound of garbage in 24 hours.
Does it smell, though?
No. If you put a damp sack or some old carpet underfelt on top, that muffles the smell, and the smells are absorbed in the carpet.
Isn't there a danger, however, that the worms might just migrate and you wake up one morning and find them all over the living room?
Well, no, they'll stay where it's damp and where it's the right temperature for them and where the food is.
Do they get sick at all?
They can if they're fed an unbalanced diet, but if they just have our garbage, then it's fairly well balanced. By unbalanced, I mean if one fed them on just flour or sweepings from a mill floor, then their livers are likely to get upset and they could get hepatitis. They go yellow. You can see them sometimes in the soil.
What sort of food can they eat?
They can eat anything that's organic, anything that's lived before. Cardboard, hair clippings, mouse from the mouse trap, vacuum cleaner waste, anything at all.
Are they very complex creatures?
Yes, quite complex. They're not just a series of donuts with a hole down the middle, as might be supposed, although it's a very good illustration of the muscular sections of them. They have a gizzard and multiple hearts, possibly 5 hearts, and nephridia, which is a kidney-like organ, which they may have 2 to each segment, so they could have 150 kidneys.
David Lambert believes that municipal councils in Australia eventually will operate huge worm garbage disposal centres. It's already being done overseas. In the meantime, worms from Bondi Junction are pioneering the concept locally and are working through the garbage of ecology-conscious people in all Australian states. The nucleus of the system sells for under $18, and for that you get up to 4,000 worms. But not all the worms end up in garbage. Many gardeners buy them to act as soil conditioners. Either way, the worms will happily eat the box they travel in after they've arrived.